Werner. So we're
Ian.
back together again.
Hey, look at that.
How are you doing?
Very well. No, it's the favorite time of the year, isn't it?
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah,
Absolutely great.
The level of excitement is addictive, I would almost say.
Yeah.
I just talked to one of our program managers that actually is no longer with AWS. She moved to a different area within Amazon. And I already got 4 emails from her going like, oh, I miss it so much, why can't I be there? Tell me what's going on. So that's fun.
Yeah, fantastic. We've got loads of coverage this year with Twitch and obviously the social media team as well. Now, you've been at AWS a long, long time, and this event has grown a lot. You must have been here at the first reInvent, was it 5 years ago? So first thing I want to do is just ask you about how reInvent's changed from your perspective over the time that you've been involved with AWS in the event.
So actually, part of my keynote is going to be sort of reflecting back on the past 5 years. So I just looked at my presentation from 2012, and actually I really thought I did a great presentation. It was about 21st century architectures. And I looked at the deck and I go like, yeek, really, and that day I thought I was really had great experiences for my customers. So many things have changed in the past 5 years, basically. All the things that we've delivered, all the innovations that we've driven. Just remember that 5 years ago, there were no containers, there was no serverless, there was no Lambda, all the things that we now take for granted. So we're all thinking about sort of, what's the next steps after those? We're no longer thinking about those type of technologies. So many things have changed in the past 5 years. And next to that, hey, what is it, 43,000 people?
43,000 people.
And so I don't know how many thousands there are on the live streams, and the live stream as well. I heard something like well over 60,000 registrations for that. So
what
scale.
about there's a lot more people here, and look at this expo, it's absolutely massive, but what about the types of customers that are at reInvent today? Because that must have changed a lot as well. We've got a different, you think we've got a different kind of customer that comes to reInvent today versus what we had at the beginning 5 years ago?
I still think that the audience is highly technical. I think that absolutely hasn't changed. I think there may have been a slight shift. I think we see a very large number of enterprise developers here, more and more, but sort of signals also, I think how sort of the enterprises more and more making use of cloud and definitely sort of serverless technologies and things like that, really wants to be educated about all the different pieces that there are. And I also see that there's a real shift happening in many, from a young, fast-moving startup developer kind of approach, these enterprises always look big and gloomy. But I think many of them are really moving fast. If I look at how companies like, take for example Expedia, are really exploiting every possible technology that we have. They're pushing Aurora to the max, using serverless all over the place. And I think sort of what we see is that these enterprises are really moving fast as well. And it's actually pretty cool to work for them. Same goes for many of the public sector companies or organizations.
And this is something we've seen with Capital One as well in previous years with their drive to re-architect the bank and move forward in a different kind of way, right?
Yeah, but if I just talked to the CIO of the state of Washington, and he says he has a hard time attracting developers, but they do so much cool work. It's all about the ecological preservation. They have all this IoT work going on. They have all this data collection going on. They're doing a lot of really absolutely cool stuff. It's just that the government has a bit of a feeling that it's old and gloomy and you don't want to work for them. But these guys have a massive cool projects going on, all running on top of AWS.
And you think that organizations equipping themselves with the right sort of technology helps them attract that kind of talent and keep those developers on staff? Maybe attract those bright young things to help build the next wave of innovation? Is it a factor?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not really sure whether it has to do with, why do you think they have to be young? Hey. And so, I do think the core premise of reInvent from day one has been, this needs to be an educational event. This is not about that we're selling you stuff or anything like that. It's all about, we've well over 1,200 technical sessions, everything really in depth. We can get and whether you're a newbie for AWS or whether you're really hardcore, I think there's a lot of sessions for everyone to have. With that, I think if you go to the area where they're doing all the training and the certification, this morning at 7 a.m. there was a line out there for people that want to get certified.
Oh, they launched a new exam this morning, didn't they? There were people queuing up there to go and do that.
So there's a lot of there's an enormous interest in actually not only sort of accumulating knowledge from around it, whether it's from partners or whether it's from AWS, but also to be able to prove to the rest of the world that you are proficient in using AWS. And I think certifications play an important role there.
Yeah, one thing to say about the content program at reInvent is that all the sessions from the event this year are being made available on YouTube, so there's a massive amount of content that is available for customers that are not at the event, and the sessions from yesterday are already starting to appear on the AWS YouTube channel, so if you do want to check out the content, you can do that right now, even if you're not here at the show this year, and that's a really valuable resource, I think.
So there's something cool in the overflow rooms that I've seen as well. They don't necessarily all work that way, but actually, so in the overflow rooms, you basically have 4 screens, and so they have no sound on them, but you use your laptop, you use an app on your phone to actually pick, to select which session you want to listen to on that one.
It's cool, silent, but everybody's watching different content. So one of the things I was going to ask you about is, during the run-up to the show, I saw quite a few people posting reInvent survival tips, which are like the things that you should bring with you or do at the show in order to get through what is actually quite a grueling week in terms of the distances that people walk and stuff. So I was going to ask you about what your tips are for surviving reInvent, because you must be trekking between the venues. Surviving it in a healthy state, let's say.
Okay. I think plan number 1 is actually you have to plan ahead. I think with 43,000 people competing for the same sessions, you have to be really early to really get on. And it's unfortunate, but real life has these capacity constraints. And until we solve this, where we can all meet in virtual space and actually have these interactions, we'll be stuck with the size of a room. And so we really try to sort of rerun some of the popular sessions at the end of the week. But plan ahead is definitely one thing. And so the other advice, and that may be strange coming from me, but I would say during the week, before its first day, limit the alcohol intake. Because there's lots of cool stuff happening even early in the mornings. And so as much as cool it is to hang out and we have all these pub crawls and things like that, make sure you're fit and well rested and well hydrated. To actually take out. And remember, we're working here in buildings that have massive air conditionings and things like that. Keep your water bottle near. Keep yourself hydrated, because it's important for your brain. If you want to soak up all the things that are actually coming to you, make sure that you actually keep yourself hydrated during the trip. Yeah,
one of the things this year, of course, is this multi-venue idea. So your keynote has always been through that wall in the Venetian before, but this year you're going down to the MGM, right? And I'm very curious as to what else might be changing, as well as the fact that you're in a different venue. So can you leak some of the secrets about what's going to be in your keynote?
I'm not really sure there is
maybe just describe a little bit of the hidden detail that we don't know about yet?
One thing is sure, I'll be going back to a music t-shirt. That's important. I think people want to know that. I'm not saying what, but you'll see. No, I think if I look back 5 years, it's going to be a little bit of a retrospective, something that has happened in the past years. I think much of these keynotes have become one long string of announcements. And so for me, that has passed up a bit of an opportunity to sort of talk about the experiences that our customers have had, what are best practices, what are sort of lessons learned, and really focus more on what I would say sort of the educational side of what we do. So I really want to go back to what I did in 2012, which was called 21st Century Architectures, the commandments of them, and sort of have all this different overview about sort of giving advice, how to build systems, and what we feel is at this moment the most important things to think about. And so I'll be doing a lot of talking about sort of well-architected, security, reliability, review massive architectures that customers have built. So go a bit through those, do some machine learning, serverless, things like that. We're really focusing on the technical side instead of announcing new products.
Okay, great. Now, in lieu of the fact...
maybe a few though, but yeah.
In lieu of the fact that there's a massive amount of new services announced around reInvent, there's a sort of bow wave that's developing now with the show, where before we get to reInvent, we're announcing services over the 2 or 3 weeks before the show, and we've already announced a lot of things. So, are there any particular highlights for you that you want to call out that you think have been particularly impactful over the last couple of weeks of announcements?
So I think some of the builder tools, I think we've done things in, so the pull requests, I think that you can do in code deploy, I think we've gone badges and sort of more support in code commit. But some of the real cool stuff that I really like is sort of the stuff that we've done on Lambda at the edge, because now you can actually run much more full-size programs at the edge. And so I've just talked to someone who really quickly implemented sort of robot control, and so sort of no longer allowing traffic to flow through to his servers by just blocking traffic at the edge.
Yep.
And so that's a 2 millisecond response time now, instead of having to go all the way back to the server
region,
to make that decision.
Yeah, this is reducing or increasing the time to live of those functions, right?
Absolutely.
So you can run them for
and
much
so
longer duration
more heavyweight complexity at the edge, content-based routing at the edge.
Yep.
Some of that, I think our IoT customers like the fact that we've sort of dropped our pricing by 40% in some of our pieces there. I think that's sort of, and so we've done something else, which is sort of signals around sort of machine learning. So the ML lab that we've launched, the solutions lab, allows you to hook up specialists within AWS and within Amazon, the retailer, with sort of individual companies outside that want to get advice about how to best apply machine learning to the problems that they have.
Yep.
And so not just doing technology, but also finding other solution sets or solution approaches, helping them with advice.
Yeah, so this is taking some of the expertise within Amazon in that field and then exposing it to customers so that they can solve their own problems, right?
Yeah, and actually really get human help there.
Great,
Well, after all, at Amazon, especially at the retailer, we've been doing machine learning for the past 20 years. Whether there's fraud detection or inventory level setting or how we run our robots, or all these things are all driven by machine learning. So we have many years of experience there. And as such, we hope that we can help that with our customers, give them advice as well.
Great, excellent. Now the last thing that I wanted to talk to you about is about serverless. I mean, this has been a huge change. I was reminded in one of the earlier interviews today with Chris Munns from the Serverless Development Advocate team, who you'll know, I'm sure, that Lambda was announced 3 years ago. And over that 3-year period, I mean, it's beyond the community. There's like a movement now in serverless application development. Where do you think this is going? And what do you think is going to be the sort of longer term trends and changes that this will cause in the industry as serverless becomes much more commonly adopted? And how do you think it'll affect the services that we provide over time?
Well, first of all, I think some of the things that we've done, for example, launched last year, step functions and X-ray, are crucial in building serverless applications.
Yep.
I think we continue to be sort of the pioneer in rolling out serverless technologies that I think there is no comparison with anybody else there. I think we're really staying ahead of that. And we still got lots of ways to go. I do think serverless has what I would call the true promise of cloud. When many years ago we were talking about that, by us taking out so much of the hard work of the infrastructure, all the heavy lifting, you could really focus on building your applications. Well, it turns out there's still a lot of work to do.
Yep.
And so I think serverless has the true promise that in a number of years, we will only be writing business logic. That's all we will be doing. And maybe you'll be writing some config files, maybe do some Terraform stuff, maybe some CloudFormation, sort of to describe your deployment and the layouts of the systems that you're building, but you will only be writing business logic. CPU scaling will be taken care of by Lambda and ECS. I/O scaling will be done by Dynamo and Aurora. And so all of these things will be, and so reliability will be taken care of by another number of other pieces, step functions, and some of the services. So all these other pieces will be taken care of by Amazon. The only thing that you will care about anymore is really the true promise of cloud, that you only have to write business logic.
Great, excellent. So there's just one question from the stream. I'm actually shocked that we haven't got more questions from twitch.tv, but I'm going to ask you one question. This is quite a funny one. So it's not really a technical question, okay? It's a question about prep. A-Bomb TV asks, how long does it take to build the reInvent keynote that you deliver? How long is the elapsed time from actually starting work on that to you getting on stage here at reInvent and delivering it? I think it's a good question.
That's an embarrassing one. So given that this year, so other years it's been different. I mean, other years there were lots of announcements and things like that. So there's content that can be built sort of ahead of time, much more easier. This year, given that it's sort of an experiences keynote, all this stuff sits in my head. And so that needs to get out, and getting that out and actually to other people who then have to make slides and do the graphics and things like that, It's turned out to be a bit more intensive process this year. Yeah, especially because I was still on the road until, let's say, 10 days ago. And so, in all honesty, the thinking has been going on for years. Yeah, so the production is the past, let's say, 2-3 weeks.
Yeah, great stuff. Excellent. Okay, we're out of questions, but there are quite a few people on the stream thanking you for your contribution to what AWS has achieved. One other question. K-Flack, I'm going to say, sorry if I pronounce your name wrong, it's tough with these names. At least it's not Fluffy Bunny 575 again. What do you think comes next after serverless, the next big thing?
Huh.
Easy question to finish up with.
Yeah, I have this crystal ball, you know, so there's like, let's rub this one. So first of all, to be honest, I never really liked the term serverless. Yeah.
Yeah.
Not because it's not without servers. It's sort of a negative term. Yeah. And describing things in sort of negativity, I think is never good. So, what comes after serverless? I really think that building out the environment around serverless, what I said, what's the vision for the future, you only have to write business logic.
Yeah, so it's the simplest possible developer experience.
More and more managed services, more and more managed pieces for you, making sure that whether it's relational or whether it's any type of databases or whatever, that all of these things are managed for you, that you no longer have to take care of this. So that's a long-term vision, and we'll work very hard to actually deliver that for you. And if you really want to know how some of the future looks like, you should come and see Andy's keynote tomorrow.
Awesome. Thanks very much, Werner. It's been a pleasure to have you as always.
Okay.
Thanks, guys. We're going to wrap up this segment now. We'll be back at the top of the hour with more content from AWS reInvent 2017. Thank you.